There we go. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, as it is 1 minute afternoon where I am, and welcome to the channel. My name is Margaret Pennard, your local historical fiction and fantasy author, and today on my channel I'm going over 2 of 3 of the Readathons in June that I'm excited to participate in. So maybe you know which one I'm missing out, and I will do on Sunday. So it's Wednesday, noon, regular time, and I've got 2 items on the agenda, CaribAthon and Pride. Now, CaribAthon has an actual readathon with 2 hosts, which I'll mention in just a moment. But Pride doesn't seem to have an actual readathon, so I don't have anyone to point to. But June is Pride Month. We support LGBTQ rights, civil rights, happiness rights, and love reading love stories for everyone. And so that is what I'm going to be highlighting, those 2 types of books today, both my recommendations and a little bit of like possible TBR. I'm not great at sticking to books that I plan on reading because I'm more of a mood reader these days / months. But they're things that I have on my shelf, and why not? So that is what I'll be highlighting today. And the one that I left out that I'm going to be covering on Sunday is, I don't know if anyone guessed it, it's audiobook month. Oh, and someone who I'm going to be asking about today is in the chat. So let's say hi to the chat. We've got Esty Houston, who always hits the like button first. I think she's always first in line, so we love that. Thank you, Shannon. Anita Stewart, AF Stewart, hello, hello. Catpaw Rosella says hello. The little kitty and the icon, I love it. And Skywinter Books popping by to say hi. Smash that like button. We'll have to catch the replay. Oh, okay. I'm going to be asking Sky a question. D, is that Island book coming out next month? Because I have my eye on your Amazon channel now, and I'm going to be watching to see if like there's an Island romance coming out, because that would be perfect. And Jim's Books Reading and Stuff. Hey y'all, how's it going? Sweet. So we're covering CaribAthon, Pride, recommendations, and we're leaving audiobook month, which is special for Sunday. So I'll talk a little bit more about that, especially because parts of my work now put me in close contact with audiobook narrators and their work and their reviews. So I have a sort of insider view on that one. So that will be for Sunday. I do have a question of the day today. So let me down and pop that up. What do you like to read in June? Does the weather make you read a certain type of book? Is it thriller? Is it romance? Is it beach read means nonfiction for you? Who knows? Pop a comment in the chat and we can all wonder at humanity's ingenuity and diversity. That's what we're here for. Okay, so first we're going to do CaribAthon. It's organized by Run Right Reads and Comfy Cozy Up. Those are 2 lovely channels. I catch videos from them occasionally as they fly by at light speed. I can pop those in the chat. That's going to be Peta at Comfy Cozy Up and Karen at Run Right Reads. And Peta is more of a lifestyle blogger, so I've really enjoyed some of her like outfits showcased and travel stuff, which is great. And Karen is more of a book vlogger, and she has a little guest, a cute little toddler guest who comes in on some of her videos and makes things fun. So that's sort of the flavor of those 2 channels. Definitely check them out on YouTube. And so I don't, with readathons, really adhere to prompts. It's just the vibes. Because prompts sort of like make you do homework and, I don't know, get really specific. Sometimes I'm in the mood for that, and lately it is not. So what are we doing for CaribAthon? We're looking for books written by Caribbean authors, and so Skywinter qualifies for that. She's my friend on AuthorTube. She's got an island book coming. So most of her Pride Mountain series is like folks in mountainous countryside in her romances, but she said she'd be dropping an island one soon. So we're going to be looking out for that. And the other one that I had In My Eye is by Callie Browning. So I don't know which island Dee is going to choose, but I think she and Callie come from the same island. So Callie Browning is an author I met through Black Author Tuber Readathon, and she's in Barbados. And this book, The Girl with the Hazel Eyes, is actually historical fiction about a girl in Barbados where she is from. And so yeah, I've never been there. I don't know anything about this island except as it is part of a group of the Caribbean islands, and like nothing in particular. So I'm really excited to learn more, and this is going to be the one that I definitely want to read in June. Oh, all right. So Anita's saying I have 2 fantasy books at the top of my reading list for June. Awesome. I actually, when we talk about Pride reads, I realized that a lot of my LGBTQ books are in the SFF genre. So like I'm leaning towards that as a combination. I like it, apparently. So it's fun. And then Jim said with June on the Range, which is created by Michael K. Vaughan, Jim will be has been reading Westerns in June, which is very cool. I still haven't read, there's like the famous one, Lonesome Dove, Larry McMurtry, that I haven't read. That's on my someday list. Yeah, those are great. So Westerns and fantasy, I love it. Thank you for answering in the comments. Give me a little think about here. What about other CaribAthon books that I can recommend that I have read that you can read if you like the same kind of stuff? So I had 3 that I picked out that sort of give you a little different flavor. The first one is Island Affair by Pris Oliveras. It takes place in Florida, in the Florida Keys, but it's with a family that has Cuban roots, and you really get a sense of the family that cares about each other and how that is different from another family that is from a different place in America. And so I really liked getting into that detail, and just like people have different norms and they are cared for in different ways, and that's okay. You just need to like recognize it and see where you fit. So I thought that was great. And Priscilla, she has a beautiful writing style, very emotional, very witty and humorous and warm, and I just love it. So I'm going to be looking out for more of hers. She's got a good backlist, so like I can choose from many. Then I've also got a classic, which I read for a previous CaribAthon, I think the first one, because it was also with May of the Moderns. Anyway, it's called Becca by Z. Edgell, and this takes place in Belize. And the most I had heard about Belize was about friends going there for vacations and rainforest travel ecotourism stuff. And so obviously there's a lot of different sides of a country, and that is only one tiny slice. So reading this book that is set, I believe, in the 50s, it's written, I think, in the 80s, and it's set earlier. So it's a work of historical fiction. Z. Edgell, not a very well-known name, at least as far as I know, but I happened to come across this in a used bookstore, read the back, saw where it was from, and was like, oh, I could find out about Belize through this fiction. And it's a girl's coming of age. She's out of school. She's going through changes. The community is going through changes. And it was different kind of writing, like not what I'm used to in translation. And that was great. So learned a little, like was exposed to something new, and it was a good story. So that's on my books. And then the third recommendation is a sprawling epic by Vanessa Riley, and that is called Island Queen. And this one I actually listened to. It was very long, but it was made tantalizing, compelling by the narrator Adjoa Ondo, and she's fantastic. So if any of you, like me, have been binging Bridgerton, she is Lady Danbury. She's an actress, but she also does lots and lots of voice work. And so that voice is the one that voices all the characters in Island Queen. And in that book, the countries that are most represented, even though they're under different names, it's Dominica and Barbados. And one of the names that I hear over and over in my head in Ajoa Ando's voice is Demerara. So, yeah, I can't say it like she does, but like we get Demerara sugar, and it's a different kind of sugar, and like that used to be a slave colony for sugar plantations, and it's just still in the language. So interesting to know where our words histories lead us. But that, like I said, is a sprawling epic. It's about a real person in history who was born into slavery, sort of wrestled the reins from her original situation, escaped, started as a servant and another as a slave, bought her freedom, became a slave owner in turn, helped other people buy their freedom. So it's a very like mixed bag, very realistic portrayal of what might have been the many loves within the life of this one historical figure, which is really cool. So Vanessa Riley, research queen. I've had her on the channel once. She was amazing. And so Island Queen for CaribAthon. So those are my possible 2 reads and my 3 top recommendations for CaribAthon. This is the halfway point where I stop and say, like and subscribe. And I'm going to remember to put this up this time, just in case you're dropping in. So I did CaribAthon. I'm excited about that. It's actually usually a week or 10 days rather than the whole month, but there haven't been any announcements about it this year yet from Run Right Reads or Comfy Cozy Up, I believe. I looked. And so I don't know what the exact dates are, but just to flag that for you, if you're interested in reading some island literature, some Caribbean flavored fiction or nonfiction, chuck your hat in the ring and check out those 2 channels to see like when, if you want to participate more intensely than I am, that would be great. And did I put in an incomplete link? Let's see, for Callie Browning's book. Let's see, beep, 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 beep. Yes, I did. You can ignore this one. Here's the full link from Bookshop for that historical fiction set on Barbados. Okay, so then, as I said, Pride Reads, Rainbow Month. You might have events happening in your hometown. This is basically just to celebrate the progress we've made on expanding people's viewpoints about who has the right to live as they please and how far that goes in our legal system, right? And so part of the work of normalizing people's choices and sexualities and welcoming them is reading and celebrating their stories of love. And so that's what we have for Pride Reads. While there is no organizer, I think people are still going to be making videos talking about their favorite LGBTQ themed books. So that's what this half is. For my TBR, or the ones that I'm featuring that I want, where did it go? There we are. I went to my Storygraph and looked up owned books. So things that I already have on my shelf, although it's not complete on Storygraph, I keep finding things and adding them on, pushed into the back of the shelves. This is actually a new one that I got, so I knew on my own shelf that has LGBTQ elements. So this is To Shape a Dragon's Breath. As I was telling Anita, like the fantasy elements in LGBTQ merge really well, apparently, because they keep finding their way onto my shelf, which is great. And the author is Monoquill Blackgoose. And so this is an Indigenous author writing a fantasy book about an Indigenous-based fantasy world. And it's actually about a magic academy, I think. A young Indigenous woman enters a colonizer-run dragon academy. So there we have it. And quickly finds herself at odds with the approved way of doing things in the first book of a brilliant new fantasy series. So I'm pretty excited about that. So this would be my feature, like Pride Read during June. So far, it's not getting out of hand, the TBR, so real possibility. Another possibility that has LGBTQ elements that I didn't get to in Asian Readathon. I mean, it's the 22nd, so I've still got 9 days. It's not long. Maybe what I'll try to do is begin it in May and finish it in June, so I can say I read it for both Readathons. because we are policing ourselves, ladies and gentlemen of Booktube, so who cares? I'm going to be reading a book. This is The Order of the Pure Moon Reflected in Water by Zen Cho, and I think it's kind of in the vein of the new hardcover books that are very slim. One of the books that was hard for me to buy, so that's why I found it used and was like, yes, I've been meaning to try this one, and several people have recommended it to me, so maybe I'll just try to fit that into both readathons. Be sneaky like that. All right, so back to the chat to catch up a bit. Jim hasn't read Lonesome Dove either. Oh, okay. Anita says, I don't read Westerns much, but I enjoyed Lonesome Dove. I know someone, a regular, had and recommended it to me. Maybe it was Anita. Maybe. I'm glad you enjoyed it. There's a whole bunch more to come after it, but I don't think they'd be as good. Jim also has Marlon James on the shelf. He's a Jamaican author. Oh yeah, History of 7 Killings, which is a big book, I think, if I remember correctly. That is on my wish list. Jim says Rihanna is a Barbadian singer. Yes. I didn't know what Callie Browning's handle meant. Like, it didn't connect. But people from there apparently call it Bajan instead of Badian, like Canadian or Cajun, I guess. And so her handle on Instagram is Bajan Callie because she's shouting out her roots. And I was like, oh, was it Bajan? Like Baja California? Because that was my experience. Like, no. Which is kind of funny. So yeah, Rihanna, good hometown hero there. Pat Parzales says Tamara Woods' cozy mysteries are set in Hawaii. Okay, well, that's an island, but that's not the Caribbean. That's decidedly not the Caribbean. I'm good enough at my geography to connect that. But it would be AAPI. It would be this month because Pacific Islanders include the Hawaiian Islands. Tamara Woods. She's got a Booktube channel, I believe, and does lots of sprints, or used to, and cozy mysteries. So if you're into cozy mysteries, that's a great recommendation. Hey JD, dropping a hello because why not? And you do you. This is about the cheating, I think. Zencho Panza. I don't get the joke. I think it's a wordplay joke and I'm not getting it. Top Run Margaret is winning. JD, we're talking about CaribAthon. So if you have like Cuban or Puerto Rican writers to recommend, Barrett was just visiting our lovely friend Esther in Puerto Rico, and I don't think he made it to Tazas y Portadas, but they did get to a bookstore, and so yeah, that would qualify. They're in the Caribbean. So you could read one of JD's books, actually. Yeah. Why didn't I think of that? Anita says, Olivia Waite writes great LGBTQ historical romances. Yes, I just saw someone did a carousel post on Instagram with diverse reading, and they had like pages and pages, and they had like almost a whole slide of Olivia Waite historical romances. I think I've got 1 or 2 on my wish list because they've been recommended. Yes, I've heard this. I think I'm probably of this persuasion as well. JC. Yeah, JD's catching up. There we go. I got there in the end. Yes, Catpa says Island. You put Zencho. But how do you get Sancho Panza from Don Quixote? That's what I'm Oh, Zencho versus Sancho. Oh, I get it. I had to say it out loud twice. I get it. Got it. Sometimes you have to spell it out. Yes. Okay, we got some recs. So we're diving back into the first half of the program. This is good. Adventures of Pixie Piper by Maricel Jimenez. Excellent. Oh, Esther Marie Andujar. Her name has come into the chat, even though she... So I mentioned her, but she's not here. Andujar, the Robot Gentleman of San Juan by Carolina Cardona. I love it. That has a great title. I imagine that's science fiction fantasy. Very cool. Okay, well, I will pin these and put them look them up and put them in the description after our live stream is done. The Storyteller's Death by Ana Davila Cardinal. Love it. So if we can't travel there, we can always read books from authors who are from there and get a little taste. So that's great. Okay, so back to Pride. Zen Cho. That was the last one I ended up with. And then the other books that are in the on my shelf category that I have not yet read. The Space Between Worlds, which I didn't pick up from the shelf. The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. That is sci-fi, I believe, not fantasy. I don't know if Anita has read it. It was kind of big when it came out, but it's maybe like 5 years old now, so a little older. And Sister Song by Lucy Holland. And that is a Greek retelling, I believe, from the cover. And like sister goddesses or fates or something, kind of like Circe or all those like Roman and Greek retellings of tales. So those are on my shelf too. They're sitting right there. And yet, I'm using my rainbow mug. How appropriate. Okay. So those are the ones I'm hoping to read, could read, should read. They're right there. And these are the ones that I have read and can recommend highly. So I had 6 for this category of books with LGBTQ plus elements. We've got, let's see, I have electronic ones for these. Do I? I don't have the Rachel Incident up here. Ooh, okay. So the Rachel Incident, which I just read for the Irish Readathon by Caroline Donahue. That is basically a young woman growing up with a best friend who is gay, and like the things that they learn about each other and the twisting messes they get into and how they hurt each other and like still solve and like make it through, and how life is messy. And that was really beautiful. So I would definitely recommend the Rachel Incident. I keep wanting to call it the Caroline Incident because the author. Okay, I'm gonna get it straight. We've got this beauty right here. I think this is my top recommend, which is The Mars House by Natasha Pulley. I had this author on my channel for Mighty Blaze, and she was lovely. It's about a several hundred years in the future sci-fi colony on Mars because the Earth is experiencing too much uproar and rioting and environmental catastrophe. The people who have been living on Mars for all those generations have changed. Their genetic adaptations make them a different type of person. So people who are still fleeing Earth are like a very different class and somewhat dangerous to the people who have been living there because of their adaptations. And so there are laws governing this Mars colony that separate people and keep the power in the hands of those that already have it. And we get to see people interacting from different classes on an Earth-derived world. And it's fantastic. There's non-binary rep, and it's flawless. I mean, I'm not one to judge, but like being welcomed into and educated through, but not feeling like I'm preached to, that was the flawless part. So I love this book. I love this author's writing. It's beautiful. It's not sparse and clean like Hemingway. It's like emotional and incisive, and there's wordplay and there's word nerds in here. So if you like word nerds as characters, this is calling you home. So I love that. And that was earlier this year. Some of the other books that were a little older, Bookshops and Bone Dust, which is the cozy fantasy prequel favorite by Travis Baldree. You might want to listen to that one because he is an audiobook narrator by profession who dropped into writing and also does that well. So gosh, he's got it made. But yeah, I hear the Did I read it? Yes, I listened to it, and it was enjoyable. So I should go back and be listening to Legends and Lattes. She also narrates, but we'll see. Mortal Follies. I did make a overlay for this one. Mortal Follies I listened to last year. It's a historical fantasy by Alexis Hall. The fantasy elements are really like mythological, what do we call it? Supernatural elements and gods and goddesses that are worked in to Regency Bath. And that was very new and interesting and innovative. And I listened to this read by Nneka Okoye, and she was fantastic. She's got all the different accents down to like portray different personality traits in the London / other places of Britain of the period. And narrates as Puck, like throughout the ages, Puck, which is fantastic. I love that conceit. So Mortal Follies by Alexis Hall. What else have we got? I've got Amberloo, which is one of our book club picks that was like the first big success. We always had mixed reviews on most of the books that were voted on, and then finally this one, Amberloo. Oh goodness. And I forget who it's by. Let's see. It's nope, not Natasha. It's something Donnelly. Laura Elena Donnelly. There we go. I didn't have to Google it. It's in my brain. And she was on the channel too. And this is like a historical fantasy in the 1930s and an alternate world that's like pre-Nazi Berlin. As you can see from the cover, it gives a few hints of that. There's political intrigue, there's spy master ring-ishness, and obviously like relationship messiness as people ping back and forth in such a liberated climate that is slowly being closed down and people are trying to escape, and like very good, really good page turner. So great Pride read. And then the last one I had was Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martin, which is a pen name. And there is a sequel to this called A Desolation Called Peace. I liked this one better. I wish it had continued in a different vein. This one was like so marvelous that I didn't need another book, I think. Anyway, I buddy read this on Booktube a couple years ago now and had a lively discussion, which I was not present for because of Wi-Fi issues. But it was fantastic. This one is fascinating to me because it has kind of like the Mars House. It has linguistic elements that key you into what is important to the culture, and it's like a word puzzle. It's like a anthropological culture puzzle. It's just really neat that someone thought that out so carefully for a world in the future, in the universe where there's spaceships and colonies and, you know, people in charge and people shunned to the side. So there's a lot of political commentary woven in here, which I thought was very deft and like also like sharp, like really good. And this is less how do I describe it? It's more technical in the sci-fi elements than the Mars House, which is more I don't know, the word I keep thinking of is flowery, but that's not it, because that's like a negative connotation. Rich prose versus like more sci-fi nailed down technical prose. That's, I guess, how I would differ or distinguish them. But yeah, so great Pride reads to recommend. Out of all of those, I would probably say the Mars House and Mortal Follies and Memory Called Empire. So obviously LGBTQ sci-fi fantasy and books to start with M. That is the market I'm trying to corner. So I think I've done what I set out to do. Let's go back to the chat and take out the rest of JD's Caribbean recommendations to read. Cathon, Quintero and the Sky Phantoms by Francisco Muñiz, Reign of Darkness by E.R. Landron, and Anything by JD, of course. Yes, nice cover. Have to check that live if I hadn't before. Yeah, shenanigans. And Cat Paw says, I still have the Being Ace anthology to read and the Mars House. Poetic, ethereal. Yes, both of those. The Mars House. I like ethereal. Oh, that's a good one. Gosh, it's almost like you're a writer who can supply words for me. Excellent. Excellent. So if you haven't noticed, like I've been doing this and my operating system doesn't have the energy to make the thumbs up sign, which is fine. I'll live in the past. It's okay. Hi, Emma Bennett. Welcome to the chat. I'll give one more run for the question of the day. June weather makes me want to read what? So here in Portland, Oregon, June weather can be rainy and overcast like it is now on May 22nd, or it can be beautiful, gorgeous, not too hot, but like not too humid either. June's usually a great month. And, you know, some people say they want to read outside. That's messy. I would probably like to read probably a mix of women's fiction and nonfiction, like history. That's what I'm reading right now. I picked up a book called Payback by Margaret Atwood because it's about the concept of debt. She is all over the place. It's from 2008, and it's this very slim novel that I think was a series of lectures that she combined, or essays that she combined. And it's about like debt through history and the idea of it. And she's talking about debt as sin. So like the nonfiction is like if the sun and the weather nice is making you scatterbrained, like nonfiction, something like this sort of focuses you, balances that out. And then I also started reading this for Asian Readathon, which has been on my shelf forever. The Gilded Years by Karen Taname. This is like 1890s historical fiction set at Vassar College, so a New York women's college, and just starting it. So yeah. And I've also got a very old research book that I got from a library, so all sorts of fun things. I don't know, sort of balance the two. Anybody else? Ooh, okay, so no sparkles. Yeah, I don't have the cool operating system. Emma says PG Woodhouse books. All right, okay, I can see that. In the sunshine. Yes, you got the beautiful flowers in your garden. That'd be nice. JD says anything. I've been so tired that reading is a nighttime activity. Oh, okay. The weather's kind of like the same at nighttime, I suppose. Yeah. You could do fantasy to escape. You could do poetry to like slow the body's immunodefenses, which you might need from the day. If it's that kind of poetry, sometimes poetry will get your heart thrumming and sometimes it slows it down. Janet says, it's hot here already. Yes, makes me want to stay inside. I run hot as it is. Yes, I think you and Chelsea are like the same type of indoor personalities. I've heard her go on about it at length. JD says, rooftop reading. I didn't even think about that. That'd be nice at night. I don't mind the heat, so we'll see if I read up in the sunshine in the next couple of weeks. Sounds like a plan. Sounds like something you should put on your calendar. Catpaw says, Gothic fantasy, if I had something lined up. Ooh, Gothic fantasy reads. I just read The Last Heir to Blackwood Library, which is Gothic fantasy, which is pretty on target for that. That's pretty good. JD says, Winnie the Pooh in the sunshine. There's no light outside. I've been reading Shelley, and it's all right, just so cryptic at times. Shelley, like Percy Bysshe Shelley or Mary Shelley. I don't know which one. They're pretty different. Have I read either? I've read a few poems of Percy Bysshe Shelley. And of course I read Frankenstein, but nothing outside of like school stuff. It's too hot to even think heat wave. Heading into rainy season, so even more humid. Oh, so that's like what August feels like to me. I just don't even like thinking about August. If I could erase myself for August, I would be happy. Oh, okay. So Percy by Shelley, like the poetry. The poems are nice, but Lord, one poem has 12 annotations. Annotations? Annotations. Oh, to understand all the references he's making, because that was like the deal in those days, is like drop a reference to ancient Greek, whatchamacallit, and Latin and whatever else. Yeah. Ooh, Anita says she just read a great historical novel on the Shelleys. I think I don't know if I remember you talking about this or I just remember hearing about the book. But yeah, that's great. I'm glad it was good. Yeah, it can be hard to do biographical fiction well, but good. What is that's an original rhyme, like a jump rope rhyme, and I can't place it. Jelly? Is that a Shelley? I don't know. My brain is not working at the speed of JD's jokes. But that's okay. That's okay. So that's my check-in today is here are some great recommendations for 2 of the readathons coming up in June, and we have like a week to prepare, or a little bit more than a week. And here are some of the ones that I might be reading and that I really hope to read in June or May and June. And yeah, so I hope this has been helpful to anyone out there. And if you're getting your TBR together and any of these tickled your fancy and they got on your TBR, tag me. Let me know. I'll come watch your video. Yeah, it's hard to know what to watch because there's so many these days, but tag people. That helps people see what you're up to. Thank you for coming to watch. Thank you for being part of my book community. And I hope you have happy reading for this last month of May and into June. Okay, Anita says, I think I did mention it before. It was nicely researched. Excellent. And JD says, from Downtown Baby. Shimmy. That's what it is. Shimmy, shimmy. Cocoa? It's not Cocoa Puff. Shimmy, shimmy, rock. I met a boyfriend. A biscuit. He's so sweet. A biscuit. Okay. I don't know what that song is from, but it's a jump rope rhyme. And I think that probably predates this song, maybe? Or not. Oh. It's a reference in Big with Tom Hanks. Oh man, so that's pretty old. But jump rope rhymes are even older. They're like nursery rhymes. Bye, Shannon. Cat Boss says my TBR always grows after these. Big hugs. That's a good note. Big hugs, everybody. Happy reading. See you soon.